Welcome to our vCDM API programming tutorials. In this second part, we want to focus on using the COM API of vCDM from external processes. So our example is we create a small Microsoft Excel document where we want to put calibration data from multiple datasets into the sheet as a table, let's say. For this, we will use VBA, which stands for Visual Basic for Applications. This is the programming language Microsoft Excel uses for automation. Then first, before we can do anything with our API, we have to log in, and for sure later we will log out. The first task will be to find a calibration project given by the name in the Excel sheet. Then we will retrieve all datasets from this project, retrieve the calibrated content from these datasets, and then we will just list the single parameter values. Okay, then first let's start with our COM API example accessing vector vCDM from outside. In this example, we just use Microsoft Excel and the VBA of Microsoft Excel, but you can use multiple applications which support communication via COM, so you are not bound to Excel for sure. Okay, first of all, we have to have this ribbon. It's in German it's called Entwickler Tools. In English it's called development, I think. You get this when you click on adjusting menu band, and then you can set here this checkbox for development tools. Then you get this ribbon entry here. With this ribbon entry, you can access multiple things. For example, you can access the VBA editor. And the VBA editor on its own doesn't know anything about vCDM and EDM for sure. So first of all, you have to bound the references to vCDM. This can be done via extras references. And as already explained, CDM is a plugin on base of EDM. So we need two type references here. The first type of reference is for EDM, and it is called Easy 4.0 type library. It's this one. And if you have a look in this path here, then you can see this type library is bound to the easy.exe in this directory. If you encounter here a wrong directory, then just start the vCDM client you want to use as administrator. So then the vCDM client has the chance to register as COM server at Windows. So this information here comes out of the Windows registry. As already said, we need two type references. The second one is called NEADH-lib. Go too far. NEADH 1.0 type library. So we have two references. Let's recheck this again. If now I have a look on the references, then we see these two entries with the checkboxes in front of it. So now we can use the type library and we get auto completion here in VBA script editor. So first of all, if you want to do anything with vCDM, then for sure you have to log in. This is true for all APIs we provide. So first of all, we need the login information. I've prepared this in another sheet. So if we have a look on this table here, it's just text, nothing magic. We have the username with CVM, we have the password, it's also with CVM. We have the domain CDM STD, this is our test domain for testing CDM. And we have an URL, HTTP / and so on with the web application name behind, which is our test server for testing vCDM 5.6. So next we have to insert something we can bind our action on. Most likely this will be a button, for example, such a comment button here. You also can give him a speaking name here. This is the caption, so we can caption it with login, and we also give him here a good name, button login, for example. Okay. If I double click on button login, then immediately the VBA editor starts up again, and it already provided me a method stub for button login click. But first of all, we have to add our two references to EDM and CDM. So I just copy paste this again. We have one EDM object, which is nestor.application. This is the reference on the EDM COM API. And we have a reference called CDM, which is the reference for the COM server of CDM on its own. So any adhlib.cdm domain. It represents the domain, which is the starting object of the COM object. These are now only variables with a type, so we have to assign them. And we can do this by providing our login method. Just let me call this method also login. And in my example, as you can see here first, I have a method, a log message to logging what we are doing right now, so that we can see in our Excel sheet where are we in our code right now. It makes development much easier. So I need a log message method. I also copy it from my other Excel sheet. So it does only output the provided message into a specific cell, and also this was the cell 20. Let me copy this also. Could look like this. We have the current step. At the beginning we are idle, and later we have our logging messages here in this frame. Okay, so that's all what this method does. Then next, we want to initiate our EDM client. We do this by calling the VBA method createObject with the parameter nestor.application as a string. This asks the Windows COM registry, please give me the instance of nestor.application, and this is our EDM client. Next, we provide another log message, get the connection data out of the sheet, and we are assigning some variables here out of the sheet. So now the variable username is vCDM, the variable password is vCDM, the domain is CDM-std, and the server is the string which you can see here. Nothing magic. Then another log message testing if already logged in. So now as we have our EDM client, we can ask him, are we connected already? Are we logged in already? If this is not the case, then we first want to log in. We do this by calling the connect method on EDM, providing the username, the password, the domain, and the server, which we retrieved out of these boxes here, out of these cells. Then afterwards, if we are connected to EDM, so if we are logged in, then we can ask EDM, the application EDM, to get the plugin neadh.application. That's also a string here. This represents the vCDM client, the vCDM plugin. So this is our vCDM object we can use, our CDM domain. Okay. Then if I log in, then I also have to log out. Let me also copy this method. It's quite simple. So our logout method. So first of all, we present a log message logging out. Then we say edm.disconnect. This is the logout from EDM. Another log message closing application, and then EDM exit, which just closes the application as if we would click the red X. Okay, so we have two methods now, log in and log out. And in between, we can do something with the CDM client. For example, we could get the path where the CDM client lies in. We can ask CDM, give me a path. And this is what we do now in our button login click. First, we log in. Then we say getting path from the plugin. Then we present a message box. The following vCDM plugin is loaded. And here, this is the path of the DLL file of vCDM. And afterwards, we log out. So just let test our application. Just save it as on desktop. Name doesn't matter. Okay. So if I disable the developer mode here and then I click on login, then you can see logging in as vCDM. Getting path of plugin. Then we have this message box here. The following vCDM plugin is loaded. You see the path of the library, NECDM DLL. And then we are logging out, closing the application. So everything is tidied up now. So then let's continue with a real example. Only logging in and logging out is a little bit boring. So we could imagine a little report where we want to find the current calibration of all datasets of an application project, for example. So we have here one box application project and the name of the application project. And later on, I want to have here in these as columns all datasets which are contained in this application project. And as the rows, I want to have the value, the current calibrated content, the value out of the according dataset for parameter vCDM array element 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, for example. So first of all, we should have a little look on the test data. If I just click on my link here, then vCDM opens and we can see the test data. Again, I log in with vCDM, CDM STD. You already know the credentials here. And within the vCDM test client, let me just drag it a little bit smaller that you can see everything. We can see our project here, Engineering Video API Programming Excel. And we have 3 datasets in it. And these datasets are a little calibrated. So if I have a look on the parameter values of these datasets, then you can see vCDM array element 0 in the first dataset has the value -4. Element number 1 has the value 2, and so on. This is also true for the parameter values of the second dataset. There are also some values are set. I also could compare these two, for example, with CDM Studio. And then you will see both datasets have a little bit different values for exactly these array elements here. Just a small example. Okay, let me close CDM Studio. And let me also close CDM again and just remember this test data here. Okay, so again, we want to fill this matrix. We for sure have to have another button. We give them a speaking name. For example, update list. And the method we also call button. The button itself we call button update list. So again, if I double click here on this, then VBA also the VBA editor generates a new method button update list click. So for sure, I also have prepared this example in advance, so we can copy out the code again. Just let me do so. And then we go through the code. It's a little bit longer than the login method, but nothing hard in it. So first of all, we have to retrieve the application project name as a string out of cell C12, which is this one. C12, just the name of the application project. Then we log in using our login method we already developed a few minutes ago. Then we provide a message search for application project. And we use a method here from the CDM plugin, search calibration projects, which takes some arguments, namely the name of the project, the variant, and the revision. And some of these fields are optional, so there could be retrieved more than one project. So in the next step, I just take the first item out of this list as the project we searched, assuming that we only have exactly one project with which matches these criteria here. Also, just let me show you the auto-completion here. Since we added the reference to CDM, we can use auto-completion here. And as we are here on the CDM main object, it's CDM domain, we see here much methods we can do directly in the domain. And later on, if we have several objects, like here the project, then for sure the project knows also many methods which are project related. So you can create datasets, you can activate, deactivate, you can do much things on these objects here. But let's continue with the example. So now we have a single project in our hand, and we use the method get all datasets from the project, which, like the name says, just gets all contained datasets from the project. So in our example, it was 3. With these 3 datasets, first we remember that they are 3. So datasets.count just retrieves the number 3 in our case. And now we want to get the calibrated content. To do so, we can use a method on the dataset which is called getCalibratedContent. And there are multiple methods with getCalibratedContent. There's getCalibratedContent to get all the calibrated content of the dataset, which for sure can retrieve multiple thousand parameter values. So there are also other tastes of this method. We use the method getCalibratedContent filtered, which accepts a list of parameter names. And this is how what I do here. We just prepare a list which only contains our parameter names we are interested in. So these 5 here. We have to do this and provide this in a so-called CDM collection. And you can get an empty CDM collection by asking the CDM domain with the method getCollection. So params now is just an empty collection, and afterwards we can add our 5 strings into this collection. We also initiated a new instance of CDM collection here, which we call Calibrated Content. Which we later can use here in by retrieving the calibrated content with this method here. So here you see the for loop, which iterates over our found 3 datasets in our example. So for the first dataset, we call getCalibratedContent filtered, and then next we first put the name of the dataset into row 13. So in this row here, we first will put our product keys, and afterwards we will print out our calibrated content. If you have a look on the calibrated content, it contains a list of, or it's a collection of CDM parameter history items. So it's much more than just the value of the parameter, but it also contains information about who integrated this parameter value into vCDM, when was this done, what was the former value, and so on. So many informations in these CDM parameter history items. And for all these CDM parameter history items, we just want to, in this example, we just want to retrieve the current value. And we want to print the current value out in the according metrics here. So for the first dataset in this column and for vCDM array element 0 for this variable, we want to print it here. So we have to calculate the correct index of the cell here. In this simple example, I just use this index in the parameter name here for calculating the correct row. So you can see this here. We put it in cell 14 plus array number is the number which we can find here. So the first parameter will go into row 14, which is this one. The next one, parameter 1, will go in 15 and so on. So nothing magic, but just to explain. Okay, and that's it. After we've done our 3 times get calibrated content filtered and printing out the values, we again just log out to have a tidy environment. So let's test. I just end the developer mode here and press update list. Again, we first have to log in. After login, we get the CDM client. Then we found the calibration content. Now everything is quite fast. We found the calibration project. He iterated over all the 3 datasets it found in the calibration, in the application project. It printed the product key and it printed the according value for the according vCDM array element. That's it. If you want to have further look in further information materials, we have at once the product documentation, which is installed in your vCDM client. So just open the installation directory of your vCDM client, go to the subfolder help, and there you will find many CHM files, Windows files. There are 2 important ones if you want to develop vCDM with vCDM APIs. The first one is the ECDM API CHM. The second one is the ECDM API CHM. Then we have multiple documents on our websites for you for downloading. So there are 2 API tutorials, one vCDM application note which shows how to program with vCDM from the client side. And we have one document where all the web service interface methods are described in detail. Then also we have different engineering videos which show especially using the COM API, programming an add-on, and programming web services clients. You can find also all examples which we have implemented in these engineering videos on our website. So thank you very much for your attention and hope to see you again in another video.